Mic check. Dang it, homely. Oh, God. Oh, wait, what? Wait, where am I? I swear to God it was working. Hold on. I should be... Give me just a second. Wow, why did it black out on me? Let's see. Give me just a second, I guess. It was working fine before. Probably shouldn't have the thing on the ground. I probably stepped on it or something. Give me a second. How is it I can move all this stuff to Dr. Flux's house and have absolutely no issues, but when I set it up in my own place, I have problems? Oh my goodness, why? Oh, come on. It was just working. There we go. Okay. Okay. You should be able to see me now, right? I don't know. Why was that happening? Ugh. Okay. We're, somewhat live. Where did I get that? Apparently hurt myself at some point. I can shut down this now. One sec. God, because I have the thing. I have the thingy. Ugh, that we were just talking about. I have the proton pack thingy. So that is equipment that I have procured at this point, which is great. It's not everything I need, but it is a good portion of it. NERF wants tiny, squishy balls. Actually, yeah, thank you for being here, Buff Daddy, because the topic of the stream today is the fact that apparently Ultra or Hyper is not 50 caliber, which is exactly what I expected it to not be. I said it would be slightly bigger or slightly smaller to prevent people from... Wow, a lot of people are subscribing during the stream, what the heck. To prevent people from doing anything like shoving like hyper rounds inside of like their rough cuts and jamming them up and breaking them and stuff like that. And it appears that hyper is a good percentage bigger than 50 caliber. I guessed 0.58, but tiny squishy balls. Because that does lead to some complications in my opinion. I'm finishing up a video right now. I don't know when it will be live. I'm hoping it will be live like Monday. It might not be. On the Firefly shooting the little tiny 50 caliber foam balls, because I absolutely love that. So that will be a video that we do have come out soon. And then I have a bunch of other stuff after that that I have to... That was kind of holding up my pipeline right now. Ask what a deleter is and if there's a Discord channel. Oh, you're so funny. You're so funny, Chris. You're so funny. But we'll have a video on that. I've actually done a lot more work on this. Are there balls in this right now? I guess there is. I never actually accounted for that. There's actually balls throughout this entire hose right now.
Quick, someone ask what a deleter is and if there is a Discord channel.
That's delayed. So, we will have, hopefully, a video on the true what we'd want 50 caliber foam balls to be. But I'm kind of glad that I'm redoing this video, because now I get to talk about the fact that Hyper isn't the exact size. Does anybody know if Dartzone has replacement parts? Well, Finn, the best way to find that out is by contacting them. When are you going to do the airsoft Nerf gun full on? Yeah, that's going to be a little while. I still have to get... We filmed a bunch of stuff for that Saturday, and I was planning on working on that throughout the week. The problem is that the accuracy wasn't very good. Even when using the included SCAR barrel, I could not get any good accuracy out of it. That could be because it was actually a little too hot for the barrel size that they included. However, I tried to adjust that and ran into some issues, and I had to talk to the creator to get an idea of how much you're supposed to adjust it. Because the actual adjustment knob turns a lot, but I turned it like one full turn, and the thing like wouldn't even cycle properly. So it's actually like super sensitive, but it will turn a lot for some unexplained reason, which is why I couldn't figure out how to get it to work. So instead of me turning it a full turn, I was supposed to turn it like a quarter of a turn to drop like 100 FPS off the thing. But it was hitting way too hard for the actual barrel length the blaster came with. That being said, I am now being sent a part from another creator to slap on it to improve the accuracy. Once I can get accuracy shots down, then I can finish that video. But I did get a sick amount of B-roll done, which I'm super stoked about. I got my proton packs wired up, just need to rewire the chaos I'm going to use. I literally just bought the one that's for the Jupiter, and I'm honestly... Okay, I do want to talk about this because I want your opinion. I am super impressed with how this functions. So, you actually plug this into the Jupiter, and then it all runs off the one battery inside the Hyper, or the proton pack, which is awesome. And the way this slots in, and it's all swivelly and everything, really good design. I'm really impressed with it, to be perfectly honest. Super impressed with this thing. Except for one big, huge, glaring, annoying flaw that I literally would take probably 2 whole, like, points off of. On, like, a grading scale, it would go immediately from an A to a C. Not only is the battery door held on with an Allen key that did not come with the thing, I have some, but other people may not, but my biggest bugbear about this entire system, there is no master on-off switch. Are you joking? Like, there is no way for me, once I put the battery in there, the ECS kicks on, because it does use a brushless motor, which is super cool, but like, you couldn't have included a single on-off switch to cut power at any point. Like, am I completely delusional thinking that is a massive oversight? A massive oversight. And I don't even know how something like that doesn't come to pass. Like, does anybody else really like constantly taking batteries out of their blasters and stuff like that? Every single time you go to awards, like, okay, well, I'm done for this round. I'm going to sit around for 10, 15 minutes. I got to unplug my battery. Got to undo a screw, take off my battery cover, unplug my battery. I am freaking tired of it. That's why I like my FDL, because it's like one switch, done. Every single thing should have a cutoff switch. But this is not a blaster. This is a system. And I have to actually take out the battery every single time I want to use it? I'm assuming that maybe there's another way to like work around with that, but yeah, it is like really, really bad. Yes, you're right, power level. I could in fact Dremel a hole in the side of it, add in a cutoff switch, and be done with it. But that should have been something that's already in the design, especially for the money, because I think this thing was like 200 and something bucks for like just the unit and the hose and everything. Granted, I got one that was pre-built, but like that is amazingly like, I'm actually angry about it. It's like we waited so long, and like nobody put a cutoff. Nobody went like, you know, it'd be really easy to add in on the side a simple on-off switch that would cost pennies to install. And I'm like, oh, come on, you're so close. Like, the thing works so well. I fired one hopper out of it and did not have a single moment where this thing skipped a ball. Granted, I have a lower rate of fire Jupiter, which is actually probably ideal for this kind of setup, but I was very upset. What is the most overpriced Nerf gun in your opinion? I'm going to go with the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1. I think that thing was not worth the money at all. So I see a lot of people saying the same thing. And I don't know how many other people have one. I really wanted to get like Buff Daddy's opinion. I'm almost thinking like I'm missing something. Like, is there an on-off switch that I'm not aware of, or is there some kind of thing? Like, I was actually mad. I got this thing and I'm like, how the heck do I turn it on? I plug in the battery. I'm like, okay, can I not turn it off? Is there a switch somewhere? There's no switch. Are you joking? And I basically put it on the table and I went, how does this happen? How? The beta didn't have one for sure. I'm just like, because this is definitely a thing that I would like to have just set up with a big lipo in it and have it like set up as a secondary or something like that, right? Like, maybe you want to have this mounted on your back, which, by the way, there is no mounting anything included. Nothing. There's no, I don't know if there was an option on the website, but there's no mounting point, straps, belt loops, like quite literally nothing. There is no mounting anything. So I'm actually unsure of how you're supposed to use this thing, unless you're supposed to hold it like this, which, you know, fair enough, but I'm a little confused about that. It's not even remotely close to a bad product at all. Like, this thing is rad. It did cost a lot of money. It cost a little bit more than I was expecting, but with like all of the extra stuff they've done to it, like, I kind of got that. But you're also talking about, like, you basically have to have another blaster, or in this case, like a Jupiter. So this is like a $300 setup, and the Jupiter is, it's not a bad blaster by any means, but it's definitely not like a high-end thing. Like, this doesn't use brushless motors, this does. And I would think this using brushless would be more important than this using brushless. But like, while the feeding was amazing, everything was like, I honestly, I sat here like kind of looking at it like, I don't know if I can do a video on this now, because I'm actually upset that something like this was neglected. Buff Daddy, I don't mind having an on-off switch, but given the uses for it, blowing a ton of ammo through a game, I'd be removing the battery after anyway. It doesn't seem like a good idea to me. It just, like, he has so much tech built into this, and I thought that was amazing, but it's literally one little switch somewhere to cut power. And I was so amazed that wasn't a thing. Yes, I could, like, just like Buff Daddy, like, I could take this apart, which I planned on doing anyway, and moving this all into a new thing and doing a whole custom setup with it. That's why I bought it. But for, like, me recommending, like, somebody out there just go get one, like, I was actually really upset. Which is super disappointing. I don't even know. I have a huge battery here. And, oh, hey, it actually will kind of fit. It's very, very tight. Very. I thought this was like the size that he recommended too. Well, something keeps, like, cracking every single time I try to put this in here. Like, it looks like it'll fit. Like, it is actually fit. No, it is definitely bending. Well, that sucks, because this would have been the perfect battery for all this. Like, and it just kind of, it kind of hit me in a spot where it's like, it did the cardinal sins. It did, like, pretty much all of them. It works super good. It's a super attractive compact package, in my opinion. This doesn't seem to need the locking screw on it. Like, I took it out, and the friction is more than enough, so that's not a huge deal. Fishing the LiPo in and out of it was kind of annoying. But I have to wonder why there is not a micro, like a little switch. Like, when I'm already paying, like, $200-something, like, an on-off switch, you can't even tell me that, like, oh, we didn't have room for it, which I've heard. The Kestrel. Like, I was like, oh my god, Kestrel, it has an Arduino, so it can do select fire, right? And the guy's like, no, only fall auto. I'm like, why doesn't it do select fire? He's like, because I couldn't figure out a place to put a switch. Like, the switch is, like, literally microns. Like, why is this not a thing? And then I was told, oh, it's because I don't use it, so I didn't include it. And I'm like, well, fair enough, it's your creation, but you just lost, you know, $600 in sales because I was going to buy 2 of them because I want 2 select fire pistols. And you neglected to put that in, even though you have literally every single other piece in there. And this is almost like it's like, oh, it literally is perfect. Like, I was super happy. I don't know, people are like, oh, it's only 20 balls a second. And I'm sitting here like, I think this is only like 6 or 7 balls a second. And it fed flawlessly, and I could do an entire HVZ with this thing. Just like this. Which I'm sure is going to be a thing. And, I mean, I don't see a reason to have more than that. I do know they go faster. Obviously, this is the same pusher motors that you'd find on, like, the Lepus, so you could get, like, 30,000 or 3,000 RPM off this thing, but that wouldn't matter because you'd be bottlenecked by what this could output. And, like, again, it's really nice quality, in my opinion. This is held on with hot glue and a piece that you lock in. This is basically just a modified, like, snack container, I'm almost certain. It even has, like, the paper disc at the top. So, this is, like, something that you find to hold snacks at, like, a Walmart or something like that. I was incredibly confused. I was seriously like, how do you not have a cutoff switch on a system like this? Because I'd rather just put a battery in it and then forget it. Yeah, cheese balls, says Jude. Any predictions on NERF Hyper? That's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit later. Holding a Hyperfire because I was wearing my deleter shirt. Oh yeah, your picture. AACS, apparently, according to Buff Daddy's in-depth look at the patents for Hyper, the diameter of NERF Hyper is 14.8 millimeter, while standard darts are 13, I believe is the, somebody please correct me on that, but. Congratulations, Sean. Vinyl dye or spray paint. Vinyl dye is way easier to use, and looks better. Your color selection is very limited, though, with vinyl dye. I feel like there's no point to Hyper, it's just paintballs and they're foam for some reason. Okay, gray, I don't know where you got the fact that they're foam, because we don't know yet, and from my observations, they're not foam. And also, there's a reason why Airsoft is little balls and paintball are bigger balls and Rival is balls, and that's because it's just better for this kind of ecosystem, ammo system. I don't think it's gonna matter at, like, the high velocity. If I had to make more well, I guess I'll just go back to my original guesses. I'm willing to bet that Hyper is going to perform pretty much flawlessly from 110 FPS to 200 FPS. And I think if it does perform flawlessly and that kind of power dynamic, it's gonna absolutely destroy pretty much everything else. Rival, because it holds more ammo, probably will be more accurate because I assume these rounds will be denser. than Rival, because Rival's just super soft, squishy foam. I mean, one of the reasons why Rival sucks so hard is because you can take a Rival round and go like that. Like, I can pretty much as I can, squish it and deform it, and that it basically has no core. So it's extremely light, it loses its velocity very quickly after it exits the barrel, and then once it loses that velocity, it either spins or catches the wind and sails off in a random direction, which is frustrating. That's one of the reasons why I hate Rival. A lot of people keep touting that Rival is accurate. It is not. It is probably the most inaccurate ammo I've used next to Ultra. The funny thing is, when Ultra works, it works really good. But Rival consistently, especially outdoors, almost doesn't work. That's why we have things like this. If you've ever been to, like, you can have a super modified, like, Hades or something like that, which should be a good blaster. You're never really going to see somebody using, like, one of those at a long distance because, like, single shot Rival almost doesn't work. After about 30, 40 feet, the round is going to kick off and sail in a random direction. If you're lucky, it'll sail up and then down, but that's not accurate. That's you just having it kind of going straight, at least trajectory-wise. If Hyper does better, which I assume Hyper is not foam, from what I've seen, I'm going to assume it's some kind of rubbery material, and I'm going to assume that it also is denser than Rival, which should mean that Hyper will be able to carry its momentum faster and yet not impact more force when it hits something. It should basically just absorb and disperse itself. You should feel it, but it should just bounce off. That market in and of itself for like a kid's teen version reusable paintball is huge. That is a massive, massive market that should be tapped into. Rival kind of tapped into that, and a lot of paintball places started picking up NERF Rival and stuff, but I think they found the same issue, is that it's too light of an ammunition. It doesn't work for long distance, which when you have some kind of like shooting sport idea, you do need that long distance in some capacity. Now that we're getting into like what Hyper can do, there's a lot of questions of if it is any of the things that I've mentioned. We just don't know. We have not seen really anything on Hyper, and that is concerning, considering it's supposed to come out sometime soon. I will bet that we'll see something physical about Hyper from Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, because that's pretty much the first time anybody's going to be able to, like, there's no toy fair or anything going on, you know what I mean? And that Nerf works really closely with that event. They've had pre-production blasters and stuff from like Toy Fair at Jared's Epic Nerf Battle, so I assume that will be a big deal here, so people can see what, you know, Hyper is capable of. And I do believe that if it hits the marks that we're hoping for, and that it's denser, it's, you know, just as heavy, everything like that, and different material and stuff, and it flies pretty reasonably good, and it basically functions like an airsoft paintball alternative, that Hyper will be extremely popular and extremely effective. After 200 FPS, I doubt it will. Not that anybody's really playing matches that go above 200 FPS. It's actually incredibly rare in this hobby right now. But after 200 FPS, if short darts are better, short darts are better. But if Hyper, even at 150, if Hyper is good at 150 FPS, that will fundamentally change the way the game is played. Sort of similar to this. I would actually assume that, like, while Rival, I'm getting all these freaking stupid names mixed up now, thanks Nerf. I would assume that since Rival was really good, right? But it's still, like, after about 120, 130 FPS is pretty much useless, like, for anything that's not close range, which is why, again, things like this are so prevalent, that if Hyper is better than that, on top of being smaller rounds that you can physically hold more in a container like this, it's going to absolutely destroy Rival and everything except for accessibility, because Hyper is going to be extremely expensive to fill up something like this with. This is already a pretty expensive project right here, and I'm not quite sure how many rounds this is. I think it's like 200, 300 or something like that. That's still not an insignificant amount of money, and you'll burn through that in a couple of seconds. Hyper is probably going to be as bad, but if Hyper can do single shot, if Hyper does single shot well at 150 FPS, short darts are pretty much done for most games. Like, there's almost no reason to use any of them. I'm willing to bet you'll see basically everybody try to convert it into shooting, like calibers and stuff like that, custom magazines and so forth. Which is good, we're already pretty much there. Because people already make like custom magazines and stuff for a lot of different blasters, so that's not something that we should be scared about. And it, you know, reinventing the hobby, maybe that's something the hobby needs. I like the idea of upping the FPS caps, especially as things become more accessible, simply because it makes things better. Now imagine you're playing like 130 FPS games. What are you going to use? Pretty much everybody's just going to use something like this. Because this will hit about 120, 130 FPS with no problem whatsoever, and you have basically unlimited ammo, and it doesn't really matter at that kind of point where, like, how much ammo you're spending. Like, if you have the money, you can support the ammo. So why not just use what's the best? Like 130 FPS dart, yeah, that's more accurate. Who cares if something fires a heck of a lot faster? And I like having the idea of that FPS cap moving up without hurting people. I'm not at all, not even a millimeter into like feeling actual pain when somebody gets hit by a foam dart. It's an unintended consequence, but there's a threshold that I think can be met. 150 is already pushing it. Like, you get hit by 150 FPS, you get hit by 130 FPS, and usually that can leave a welt at a close enough range. 150, which is a common FPS cap I see at a lot of wars, that will welt, 100%. And so bumping that up, in my opinion, to like hitting like the 170, 180, I think that opens up a little bit more options if there is enough difference in the ecosystem to support it. So, for example, when 150 FPS kind of became our de facto cap at the wars that were done around here, that was basically just completely dominated by calibers. There was almost nothing that wasn't a caliber that would be used. There was still uses for something like this because it could run around and spray things down, and at long range you had suppressive fire, which wasn't common, but you were most likely going to miss 90% of your shots at extreme distances, where a caliber would pretty much land a shot every single time. And as that FPS cap goes up, other things become viable. Like, so at 130 FPS, you can have flywheelers that hit the same velocity. Like, flywheelers before used to be this thing that couldn't hit over like 110, 130 FPS. Flywheelers can now hit 200 almost no problem. So if you keep things at like 150, if somebody has a really good tuned flywheeler, they can keep up with a really good tuned caliber. Flywheelers are less accurate because just by the nature of having two spinning wheels that fling a dart out, like, you're gonna have some accuracy issues just inherent with that design, but it's still compatible. It's comparable is what I mean. When you move into having a higher FPS cap, it's actually more difficult to have like a flywheeler hit 170, 200. I said just a little moment ago, it's really easy, but if I go out there and try to like almost every single flywheeler I have hits about 150 FPS. Almost every single one. If you go to like the, what do you call it? The Worker Phoenix, that thing hits about 150 to 170. So 170 FPS, like, yeah, the Phoenix can do that, but how does it have to accomplish that? 3 huge wheels or 2 sets of small wheels, a bunch of crazy stuff. Daybreaks should be able to hit like 200 FPS, but my Daybreaks personally, I could not get to that. We go, as you up the FPS cap, you kind of bring in more things that can be quote unquote usable without like relegating everything to one option. Like, granted, this is not the only option, it's pretty much just the de facto one. Now, there's always going to be subjective use, like what do you want to use that's going to outweigh something like this or a caliber or so forth. You're always going to have somebody who wants to have their specific blaster doing their specific thing, and I'm totally on board with that. But when it comes to doing like competitive NERF, well, what is the meta for basically Foam Pro Tour BTA? It was calibers with a couple of like dual fishes. There were other people using other things, granted, but there was almost no point. It was just subjective taste, and when there's money on the line, people are going to use what's the most effective thing. What do we see with like Foam Pro Tour? Pretty much everybody's using Talon Claws. That's pretty much it. You'd basically just have 5 Talon Claws versus 5 Talon Claws because there's no reason to have the extra barrel length from like a Caliburn, because that does inherently give you a disadvantage in many cases, and there's no real reason to have flywheelers because you needed the accuracy because of the limited ammo cap. That's things that I found were like not very well balanced with like the Pro Tour kind of stuff. I get why they did that, because if you could do unlimited ammo, well, then people would just be using stuff like this. But I think that's more of a design flaw with the game and not a design flaw with like the actual ecosystem we're in. Something that I've talked about a lot of times for like NERF is I wish that we would work on having FPS caps be relegated to how your blaster primes. Yes, that complicates things, but I don't think it complicates things nearly that much. And if it was something that we could agree to a standard on in the hobby, then it would be much easier for somebody to build, like, I want a, you know, a bolt action, you know, spec'd blaster, and we could have bolt action hit a little bit harder than pump action, which can hit a little bit harder than semi-auto, which can hit a little bit harder than full auto. And then you could balance games around that. That's my opinions. So when it comes to Hyper being a better round, it definitely has the capabilities to, but who knows? I would also like to see what the pinpoint darts for Ultra is supposed to be. Would you ever try Airsoft? I did try Airsoft. Like, that's something I don't understand why people are like, oh, you own this, therefore you don't own anything else. You cannot own firearms, paintball, Airsoft, anything. No, you knew NERF and that's it. That's all you do. That's 100% everything WALCOM does. It's all NERF all the time. He never does anything else. I don't know why this is such a common thing. When I see somebody with a cooking channel, I don't assume that that person only cooks. That's all they do day in, day out is cook. They don't like anything else. They don't do anything else. All they do is cook. I don't assume that, so I don't know why that's assumed like this. I own firearms. I own airsoft guns. I really do. I have a gas blowback Taurus something or other in the garage right now that I've had for like the last 12 years. Like, I own firearms in airsoft, and I had a paintball, a Revolution, when I was a kid, which this is all stuff I did as a kid, and I've kind of explained the story of like why I don't like airsoft, but the biggest reason why I don't like airsoft is because the ammo capacity in airsoft is dumb. Even if you're like, well, you can use milsim cap mags, which are relegated to like 30 rounds in your AR. Yeah, but I can carry 40,000 rounds in a tiny container or in a speed loader, where to refill a mag, all I do is pull the mag out and take this little like syringe thing, dump it in there, press one button, and it instantly refills the mag and it's good to go. It's artificially capped because I could also just have a 30,000 round mag for my AR-15 or airsoft gun. So it's completely stupid, pointless, and I don't understand why people like it. Because when you watch, like, the most famous clip in airsoft that I know of is like no full auto in the buildings. Like, that, not full auto. What's full auto? This is full auto. Oh, okay. Wow. Like, I get that, but that's all of airsoft to me. If I can buy my way into, like, I can spend, you know, $3,000 on airsoft gear. Like, I'm a fat, unathletic POS, but I can buy stuff that would make me more effective. Kind of like NERF, but it seems because of the distances we're dealing with, that's less of a problem in NERF. When, like, airsoft, it's ridiculous, and I experienced this firsthand, because when airsoft, about, I wouldn't say 6th, 7th grade, was when airsoft started taking off in the US to the point where we actually started getting into it, we had one guy who, he basically got like a $400 airsoft gun off eBay and destroyed everybody. We couldn't even remotely compare to it. And it was like, he didn't have anybody to play with because we didn't have anything like that. And then he tried to go off to go to airsoft fields, which were starting to become a thing. Paintball places were starting to do airsoft, and was finding out that he's actually on the bottom tier. His is actually not even that good. And then when you go play with the people, it's like, yeah, there's going to be kids who have like little Springer blowback, like, you know, you cock it and everything like that, single shot pistols. But then you're going to have the regular people who spend $700, $800 on their airsoft stuff, and they're going to dominate. And I think that's less of a problem in this hobby, especially when we got our hands on something like the Nexus Pro. I don't even think the Nexus Pro is necessarily that good of a blaster. The thing with the Nexus Pro is it's stupidly good for the price. The Nexus Pro being as good as it is just because it's a $50 blaster. You could buy a $50 blaster today from Walmart that is better than a $200 blaster that you'd have to put together yourself. That blows my mind. It is incredible that that is a thing you can do now. Do I think the Nexus Pro is the best blaster ever? No, it's not, because that $200 blaster you built yourself is way more solid, and it just feels 1,000 times better to use. The Nexus Pro is a creaky, wobbly POS in comparison to like a really good, modified Prophecy. Like, it's not even comparable. And that's a lot of people like, oh, I like the Dark Zone Pro Mark 1 because it feels solid. I get that. The problem with the Dark Zone Pro Mark 1 is that it's not solid enough for the price, and on top of that, you could barely modify the thing without completely gutting the entire internals, which at that point, why wouldn't you just spend the money on a Prophecy and get exactly what you want? Maybe because you want something different, that's fine. But at no point do I feel like, oh, somebody can buy their way to win. Like, you can build a single-shot pistol in NERF for cheap that will compare to things that are pump action, everything like that. Yes, that's an inherent disadvantage, but it's not like a dart is a dart, you know what I mean? At 200 FPS dart versus 200 FPS dart is the same thing. So, at that point, it's just like, well, I don't have the money, but I have to overcome that with skill. That's fine, I accept that. Not to mention the Aeon Pro. Exactly, Compact Disco. I said the exact same thing. I think the Aeon Pro is better than the Nexus Pro in every single way. Not only is it cheaper, not only is it just as effective in my opinion, but the Aeon Pro is very easily modified compared to the Nexus Pro. I think the Aeon Pro is more modifiable and can hit harder than the Nexus Pro because the Aeon Pro can basically use long shot springs. It's amazing that someone can spend $80 in a few hours of time to build a 230F pump-action mag-fed ultra-stock primary. Yeah. No, it's incredible. This is the biggest deal for our community ever. This is this is bigger of an impact than, like, what Worker, like, hit the scene. Because I remember, like, before Worker really did a whole lot, we did, Artifact stuff. Artifact and then like Pack D, which was never really accessible here in the US. There was also like, back in the day, like way back in the day, like Remedy metal kits and stuff like that. Like you were spending hundreds of dollars to get a little bit of performance. And now you can go to Walmart and buy a $50 blaster that's just, after all this time, as efficient as those things. Is it as nice? No, definitely not. But it's still very good. Also, the Spectrum for $25, which can reach 120 FPS, is just amazing. Slushy. Problem. That Dart Zone has been making since like 2014 100 FPS flywheel blasters. They weren't mag-fed, but you can easily make them mag-fed. So while, yes, the Spectrum is cool, it's not revolutionary. And it's very easily, if you haven't been in the hobby, to realize that, and I'm part of the problem because I hype up this kind of stuff because I am excited, but I'm not excited for myself. You will never see me use a Spectrum. You will never see me use a Nexus Pro. You may see me use an Aeon Pro, but I don't really like it. It's an ugly blaster. But I'm excited for you guys because now if I go to a war, like that's out there. And it's like, if now with 150 FPS is more accessible, overall FPS caps probably need to go up. And that's something that's been going on in the hobby. Like, FPS caps have been going up. You gotta remember, like, we used to not be able to use short darts anywhere. They were not a thing. It wasn't until Worker started producing short darts that were pretty easily accessible thanks to places like Out of Darts that we could get our hands on them, and now they're available in Walmart. So now pretty much every single war is gonna let you use short darts unless you're, like, game leader's asinine. Also curious about the Yeehaw. Did you print one yet? No, I won't. I don't like the idea of it, and I don't really care. Like, it's printing out and building blasters is a lot harder than I think it needs to be. For example, I was trying to print out one of the Meeker. I think it was the Mark 18, and it's like the thing that keeps getting me about 3D printed blasters from somebody who has to like build them. the thing that like absolutely infuriates me and is completely unavoidable, and if I'm getting frustrated, most of you would get frustrated far beyond what I did, is that 3D printed blasters, you go to Thingiverse, oh, here's the file for the Super Destroyer NERF 9000, and you download it, you just get a folder that's full of 36 different little pieces, and you have no idea where they go, what they do, or anything like that. And even if you had like a list of like, you could click on this and see where the thing is, or a breakdown of like, this is this piece, this is that piece, this is Slim Rod 19, this is Dart Push 2, this is Dart Push 4. It's like, it's so incredibly frustrating, because if I want to print something out, basically I have to look at the final thing, look at the file, add the file into Kira, go like, okay, what file is that? Okay, I want it printed in this color. Then I have to get rid of it, open up another, put in another thing, try to figure out what every individual piece is, then try to fit them on a build plate in separate, because I'm like, I'm gonna print all these pieces in black, so all these pieces are gonna be here. I'm gonna print all these pieces in pink, and all these pieces in white, and then I gotta remember that, okay, do I have every single piece? I don't know, better open up Excel and make a spreadsheet. It's so infuriating, and it's so easily prevented, and I don't know why I'm the only person on the planet that apparently has a problem with this, but whatever. Like, I can't stand it. Every time I have downloaded the, what was that? The super amazingly good, the Serval. Like, holy crap, that thing looks amazing. I open up the files for the Serval, or whatever it is, and it's like literally 90 different files, and they're like, the Kitchen 2.26 point, what? It's like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. I said, oh, it's the freaking trigger. Oh, okay, so now I gotta remove that off my build plate, and like, I gotta make sure the trigger's orange, and I gotta make sure this is that. It's like, it's so infuriating. And am I going to print out a Serval? No, I will literally never touch that blaster. I will never print one out, because I'm not going to spend 4 hours trying to get every single file in the color I want, and like make sure they're all printed right, and go through like 16 different printer things on my printer and make sure they're all named differently so I don't confuse any of them. It's so annoying, and every time I print out a blaster, it is the same flippin' problem. And Lord knows how many times I have thought I've printed out an entire blaster to find out I've missed a piece or two. I'm so tired of it. Why can we not make any effort whatsoever? When you design a blaster, I'm speaking to any content creator or any 3D printer design. I know this sounds completely asinine to you. Like, I made a thing. You don't like it? Don't do it. Well, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. Because, like, I know that I get frustrated, and it doesn't need to be this way. If people would just, I know, like, maybe you can't have separate folders or something like that with Thingiverse. Fine. Can you at least make an A, like, list and a B list? Like, or maybe even 3. So, like, I know all these colors can be printed out in one way. That's just your default, whatever you have it spec'd out to be. When you post a picture of your blaster, and we go, holy crap, I want that, then all the pieces you had in orange should be C, all the pieces you had in red should be B, and all the pieces you had in white should be A. So I can find Trig Guard A, you know, buffer stock B, all these grip C, like all these things, so I can go, all the C pieces go on one thing, or 2 or 3 things. All the B pieces go on 2 or 3 things. All the A pieces go, and just slam it on the printer and get it going. Like, that one move would save hours of frustration. Like, it's so infuriating. Yeah, I'm frustrated trying to sort the hardware. That's a completely different problem. I think the thing with, like, you can't go to Lowe's and to pick up all the hardware for your thing. You shouldn't expect that, because Lowe's isn't going to have everything. Now, McMaster Car will have basically everything. The problem with McMaster Car is that when you buy a thing, like when you buy a thing off McMaster Car, if I need 3 like 2mm pins or something like that, well, I'm buying a bag of 1,000 of them. Okay, so do you know how many like bags? I have a drawer full of just like McMaster Car bags with like random hardware in it. And I don't think I've ever printed out a blaster that I went back, it's like, oh my god, those 2mm pins I bought, I can use them again. Because the next guy's like, no, I'm going to use 6mm pins in a different diameter because that's what I wanted to use. It's like, ah. So, like, I'm all for, like, if you're like, I'm a person, I want to sell hardware kits for this thing, so I'm going to buy 1,000 of each thing, and you're going to jack up the price triple with the MSRP of what you spend, fine. Because the difference between $20 and $60 to somebody like me is almost non-existent. I don't care. I will pay you $60 so I don't have to have a whole bunch of stupid hardware laying around. Unless I plan on making hardware kits myself. I totally get that. But why is it so freaking difficult with these three? I don't know of a single 3D printed thing that I've ever personally downloaded that was not just a nightmare. Like, even something like the microburst, which is like 12 or 13 files, is still like, I look at that, I'm like, okay, I gotta drag every single one of these files into Kira, look at the finalized, what the blaster's supposed to look like, and go like, okay, that's the back end, that's the grip, that's the trigger, that's the rod that goes from the trigger to the thing, and it's so frustrating. It is like, I guarantee you the number of people that look at your stuff and go like, yep, never gonna print this out, and turn it off is much higher than the people actually building it because of these specific little issues. There's a couple of times I have printed out stuff where it's like, they have like body, internals, external, like that. There was a couple of them that did that. I think the Bulwark actually did something like that for me. But every single thing, oh my gosh. Meeker did that with his Griffin variant, helped me a lot. Yes, David, I did talk to Meeker about that, and he was telling me he was probably going to send me the files, and I'm like, oh my god, thank you so much. Because it's so, like, I have 4 printers, and I just bought more filament, and it's like, is my printer running right now? No. There's a stick of deodorant sitting on my printer bed, because I meant to bring that with me when I went to, the whole Flux's house last week and left it on my printer bed. But it's like, you see the pile of pieces? Like, you see all that right there? Is that assembled? No, because like half of those things I want to reprint now because like, oh, it goes here. Well, I don't want that color separation go in. What file was that again? Okay, it's like, oh my god. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. Like, my biggest, like, I don't get it. I don't get why this is such an issue. Like, I'm actually hoping in the future I might be able to set up something, because I should have unlimited bandwidth as far as I'm concerned. Like setting up a server or something where I can be like, hey, your thing on Thingiverse, can you take that and put it in whatever, like, orientation like this, everything set up, and like send it to me and I'll put it on a server and host it. So if you want to print out a Griffin or a Serval or a Mr. Heath Pants MP7 thing or a Magpie or like whatever doesn't cost money, or maybe have the server and charge people for access, I don't know. Then just distribute that out to the creators. I don't need money from it or anything like that. Just a way that we can have this all in a very easy, digestible thing that I'm talking about. Like, yeah, I understand as a creator that might take you a couple of minutes. I do, I get that. And that's frustrating because you already made perfection, so why would you want to change it? I understand. And that could be really annoying because I'm just a brainlet, right? I'm just an idiot. I should know that the Jack Link 249 is the bottom piece of the stock before the other piece of the stock. I get that. I should know that. I should be as intelligent as you, but I'm not. I'm clearly not. So can we make some kind of effort to make idiots like me who have the intelligence to at least run a 3D printer be able to print out your thing without it being an all-day ordeal? Like, I'm not asking you to slice the files and just send me the STLs for my exact printer model. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you to at least, if you're gonna list everything in one big empty directory, have everything like A, B, 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 C, 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 C. And if I want some other, like, oh, I actually want this piece and this piece and that's up to me. But like when I see your picture of your thing and I'm like, oh my god, I want that thing, my brain is already like, okay, I want that thing, but with this being red, this being blue, this being white. Oh, done. Easy. Like, I don't understand why this is such a freaking huge, massive, big obstacle that, like, we're how many years into 3D printers being more regular in this hobby, and it's like, oh, it's so annoying, man. Standardization of NERF hardware would be interesting. I think more creators need to utilize heat set inserts. I'm surprised for how long those have been around that we don't use those way more often. Yeah, I think the Foxfire would be a pretty easy thing to print. There's not a whole lot of like complexity that's built into the Flox file. Flox file? Yeah, that's about how my day's going. Ah yes, Garrett Jackson once again. Thank you very much for the $5. Working on my NERF Baraka blades, having trouble with the blade size interfering with the activation mechanism. Well, that's the... Hopefully you have good luck on that. I know that kind of stuff can be very, very complicated. Which is why I stick to very easy things.
Hey WALCOM, I'm still working on my NERF Baraka blades. I'm just having trouble with the blade size interfering with the activation mechanism.
To be fair, XC has black, orange, and shell in file names. That's good. But again, that's like, it's not a common practice at all. Would you recommend a mod the Hyperfire? Hyperfire is a good thing to mod. Ultra or Elite 2.0? Ultra is better than Elite 2.0. Why are AirTechs so hard to mod the turrets? Because they're not meant to be modded. Getting a NERF job lot for the value? What? I've been considering getting a NERF job lot for the value. I'm unsure of what you're trying to say there, Cherry Man. No, we're not empty. I don't know why that didn't have anything in it. What mods would you recommend for the hammer shot? Oh, Drew. Metal hammer, because you're probably going to need it. I recommend, actually, if it's still around, getting the one for the Orange Modworks hammer set. I think that's pretty good. And a higher capacity turret and like a 10 kg spring. Or a 9 kg spring. Belt full auto or pusher full auto? Hyperfire versus Rapid Strike. In my opinion, in most cases, belt full auto is superior. I think it's easier to access, and it's easier to get high rate of fire with less work. That's one of the reasons why I picked the deleter for when I built the fastest full auto thing I can think of. Nowadays we have those N20 motors which work pretty good, but I would think that belt full auto is better. That being said, belt full auto reaches like rate of fires you practically don't need. So Garrett Jackson with a $5 donation. I promise when I finish them, I'll send a pair to you as ASFPs. I'm in no hurry. I got a lot of things going on. I mean, we're getting pretty close to officially announcing that we're moving, so. What do you think will happen to the Ultra line when pinpoint darts are released? I think that will just make Ultra viable. I don't know if it will exactly change anything. They need to do stuff with Ultra that you can't do with any other dart, and Hasbro has completely failed at doing that. There's zero things that Ultra does right now that another dart can't do better. What's a weird Nerf blaster y'all's like, such as a weird gimmick's not or effective? I mean, there's a lot of them for me. Personally, things like the Diatron, the Fuse Fire, I like those internal mags. I really like the Fuse Fire. I wish it was a little bit better. I'm making a 3D printed blaster. How would you recommend organizing files? Again, just if you have a color scheme, like when you print one out and you're like, okay, I made it this 2-tone color scheme or 3-tone color scheme, just have either label things as like body, shell up, body, shell down, stuff like that. So I know like these are the body pieces. So if I drag those into Kira, I can tell what they are and just be like, okay, I want body shell up to be black, body shell down to be purple, done. Instead of like making it really confusing and naming them weird things, because like every single time I download a 3D printed thing, it's like body shell up is nicknamed like something Domoshevsky would name it, like the kitten schneck or something. And it's like, oh, you're so cute, you're witty, but that doesn't help me. And I can't tell you how many times, like, especially, I think it's like Captain Slug was one of the worst ones about this, where it's like something like Ram 2. It's like my brain doesn't register that as like, oh, that's the thing that pushes the dart into the barrel. Like, it's super frustrating. So I think we can do better like that, or just have it like either if you're gonna name it very easily like that, so I can see all the external pieces and pick color schemes for them, or just label everything as like an A piece, a B piece, and a C piece, and be done with it. Building a spam right now, is a super spam worth it? Yes. And what spring would you recommend? I actually don't have a theory on that because springs are not quite my thing. And that's cool, Sanic. Hopefully my pair won't have unintentional activation discharges since I'm a martial artist. Yeah, hopefully not. That sounds like a bad thing. Also, you're financially irresponsible, but I thank you profusely. Thank you for another $5. If you're wondering why the counter up there doesn't change, it still says like SKYWYD, is because that doesn't count super chats in there. I may change that in the future, but yeah. Take the springs out of the barrel of a Buzzbee double shot and tighten the barrels. Would it be effective to fire mega darts out of it? Maybe? I don't think the double shot would have enough power for that. Nerf Bulldog is good. It's okay. It's not a competitive blaster, but it certainly is fun in my opinion. Especially for like the probably 10-15 bucks you'll find it at. Someone modded a 250 FPS Rapid Strike. Well, yep, that will definitely be a thing. The chat seems like it's very delayed right now. I'm not quite sure what that's about. Anybody else noticing that? Chat seems very, very delayed on screen. Get more water. There was a comment there that I just saw that I don't know how long ago it was, from It's Joshi. Thank you very much, because trying to make this hobby a little bit more accessible is a goal of mine. I haven't really done a whole lot yet, but do you think putting in a stronger spring and doing a string mod would help make the double shot fire mega darts? It can fire them. I think it's a debate, an idea of how much you want them to fire. Like, I think it can do it, but I don't think it's going to be better than like even a Talon like firing mega darts. Well, thank you, Garrett.
Don't worry, I'm loaded. I'm sorry, that was a terrible pun.
It's not so much that the chat is delayed, but the one that I have on my screen is like missing most of the chat, it feels. I need to look at how to do better chat stuff. Cause like, I'm seeing so many other comments that are not like showing, and they're showing out of order and stuff like that. It's very weird. And I've been meaning to change. I want the old chat that I used to have, but I kept having issues with it. So I changed it to the one that's built into OBS. But the one that's built into OBS definitely does not work well with YouTube chat. It's based more for Twitch chat. What about the Milsig? Video's coming. What is the cheapest way to get a Strife? A way. I mean, there is no cheapest way. The cheapest way of getting a Strife is finding one on the side of the road. Like, I don't understand what kind of question that is. Like, eBay, Amazon, local, like, garage sales. Like, I could give you 30 different answers. Pepsi or Coke? I am more of a fan of Pepsi, unless it's a cherry Coke that I think I'm chemically addicted to. Job lot is a British term for a bundle for cheap. Ah, okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Cherry Man. That makes more sense. Since 14.8 is about the same size as Ultra, that would make sense. Maybe we'll see Ultra being modified to shoot higher hyper rounds. That could be. I'm not really. The character, the anime girl that you're talking about, Joshi, that was done by SLAEDUR. That was kind of our own original design for a character for the channel, a mascot character. If Ultra gets modified to shoot hyper, will those blasters finally not suck? I doubt it, because they're not going to be modified, like, they're not going to be designed to shoot hyper. So I doubt you'll see, like, an Ultra 2 shooting hyper anytime soon. I mean, if it's a cheap bundle and you're happy with it, sure. Hammer Shot or Hammer Storm? I actually like the Hammer Storm more. I died just like everything else that Nerf gets bored of, Sahil. Have a good one, Cool Out JD. Build is my favorite series of Kamen Rider. It doesn't look like Streamlabs is popping up. Here, let me... I clicked repeat and it didn't happen. Maybe I have the threshold set too low or something. I was playing with that, but $3 should be more than enough. I noticed that you've donated a couple of times, Homely, and I haven't seen it until I'm, like, looking through the thing, like, the next time I do a stream, I'm like, oh my god, Homely donated, I didn't mention it. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll have to toy with it a little bit. It's been a while since I've tried to completely change the stream everything. Like, it took me a long time just to get this setup going, and I've been afraid to mess with this setup because I don't want to break something. So... notice, like, it hasn't changed all that much. It takes a lot of work to get into this thing. Like, it is a template that exists, but it took me a lot of work to, like, get it set up the way I have it. Do you think Nerf... how do you think about the Nerf Hyper... how do you think... I just spent, like... I just spent like 45 minutes talking about Hyper. I don't want to talk about Hyper and regurgitate what I just said. I'm sorry. You'll have to wait for the VOD because we've already talked about Hyper a lot. And I don't want to talk about the same stuff I've been talking about. I want to talk about something new. Anybody have an idea when Hyper will be released? If I had to guess, it's probably going to be this summer. I mean, we do have the little pink walrus mascot that shows up in some thumbnails, too. I have to drive a bit more before getting to a bed to crash in. If I find time tomorrow, I'll drop a solution I have in mind for integrating an on-off switch with the proton pack battery door. I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand, like, I could modify this, especially with, like, this little notch right here that's obviously meant for, like, your finger to go in. And just basically putting an interrupt. Okay, see, these are the things I start to hate about this blaster. I can't even get the... Why? Come... It should not be this difficult. I literally cannot fish the I can't get it. Like, it's not coming out. It's like... There we go. Yeah, chalk that up as another thing I don't like about this. Like, I could definitely cut something in between this, like, basically one wire and just having a switch somewhere. But my point is that should have been integrated into the design for the $200 or whatever I spent. I think it was like $228. I'm not entirely certain. And I don't think I got a particularly expensive option either. I just got, like, the basic connector. Like, this is all really nice, but the lack of an on-off switch is almost unforgivable, in my opinion. And I wish I could fit this battery. I like, almost can. What's your favorite spring priming mechanism? Lever. Lever is definitely superior when it comes to NERF. For the biggest reason being that... God, now this battery is wedged in there. There's a lot of forces because you're priming back a spring. So, like, bolt action doesn't really work with NERF that much because we're not using... We have, like, a spring load, like a heavy spring load. So that being direct with only one hand is hard to balance. And you need to have a lot of string to pull that back. So that's not a good design for NERF. Pump action's worked because that's an even inline distribution, but bolt action is much harder. Lever action is pretty much the best. Like, lever action beats pump action every single day of the book, in my opinion. It's just way harder to develop for. But that's a lever, so that gives you a mechanical advantage, which is why I'm so excited for the lever that GDOP has been making. I did a whole review on the flak. It's more of a toy than it is an actual functional blaster. Adventure Force is beating NERF. Maybe in our minds, but in terms of making actual money, it's not even close. No, I haven't. Well, actually, yes, I have LH109, but I did a cosmetic mod and not a functional mod. The actual like functional mod for a Centurion is pretty difficult, almost not even worth doing. Probably the rival one, Sean. Make a NERF tank? NERF already made a tank. It's called the Terra drone. No, Terra Scout. Why couldn't this battery compartment be slightly bigger? I'm kind of miffed about that. It looks huge. Like, to be fair. Like, that's pretty big, except for here's a pretty standard big battery and I can't fit it in there. I would like to just fit this big old LiPo in there, but I can't. Annoying. And I didn't bring another battery with me. I thought it was pretty impressive that this thing works as easily as it does with, like, this setup. I was really confused. Like, you literally just plug it into the Jupiter. And I still, like, my brain can't figure out how that actually works, so that's a genius design in my opinion. Favorite ammo type to shotgun? That would be 50 caliber foam balls now. That's pretty much unbeatable. Don't make a bunch of hyper rounds on a Nemesis. I don't think that's going to work. For the sole reason that the flywheel gap for Rival is going to be a heck of a lot wider than the flywheel gap for Ultra. Or Hyper. I'm so tired of like all these different names that all don't really describe what I'm actually talking about. Well, that's gone. Oh, I found it. Never mind. It exists still. See if I can even put this screw back in. Congratulations, Joshy. How are you supposed to? You can't even put this back in there. I mean, it doesn't need it, but wow, that's frustrating. Like, super frustrating. Okay, I'm starting to like this less and less. There we go. That's really nice. That swivel. I don't know if you can see that. That's really good. Yeah, it's just black magic how this thing works. I seriously don't understand how this works. Yeah, David, I'll probably just find a normal screw to shove in there or something. I found a normal screw. It's probably too long, though. Have a good night, Drew. I didn't count, Shinryu. I would assume a fair couple hundred. Like, the thing is, like, how am I supposed to use this? Like, there is no mounting hardware. Can somebody explain that to me? There's no mounting hardware on this, so how are you supposed to use it? I assume that's supposed to go in there if you want to have, like, actual airflow if you put it in a backpack or something? I actually don't know. It just, mine came with this little piece of tubing and I don't know what it's for. It jiggles around in a pack. So I guess I would just fish this out the side of the backpack or something then, so it has direct airflow. Then looking at the lightning bug, it looks like a great price for performance option, but I was waiting for your review. Sorry, Ty. Things have been pretty complicated, so... I want to get that video done. The main reason why I haven't done a video, so... This is a good thing and a bad thing. I want to talk about actual videos, so... My video output has dropped dramatically. There's a lot of external reasons for that. I seem to be going through phases, but the main thing that I want to hammer home with videos is that I'm kind of done doing content for content's sake. I want to stop feeling like I have to do a video because I haven't done a video. That is my goal from now on. And as you can kind of tell with my channel, it's been working. Now, obviously, if I'm getting 30 to 40,000 views a video, my main goal is to just do more video. But there are so many videos, I would say 9 out of 10 videos I make don't hit the channel. Simply because I don't feel they're worth it. Like, it's not good enough. So... with something like the lightning bug, I like the lightning bug, but I don't want to just do a video on the lightning bug because I have a lightning bug. I need to like think of a way to do a video on the lightning bug that is actually interesting. And I'm gonna start trying to form more entertaining content than straight up review content. So I plan on in the future to avoid doing reviews. Not that I won't do a review, it's just that if I'm going to make a review, I don't want it to feel like one. I want it to be fun and entertaining and worth watching even if you've already seen a review. But if it's the first time you've seen the blaster, I want it to be informative enough that you could watch just my video and feel like you learned everything you needed to know about the blaster. And it's gonna take some time for me to nail down exactly how I want this to go. My biggest issue right now, full stop, is where I'm trying to film my videos and everything. I don't know if you've noticed it, but that space is cramped. That space is not good. I can't even get the depth of field to work right because I can't put my camera far enough back to blur the background out behind me. So basically I'm trying to save on to as many of ideas as I can until I have the studio. And that's when I'm gonna make more of an effort to produce content the way I want. And that's kind of been the main genesis for my videos slowing down just in general. It's a couple of things, but the biggest part is that, like, I know I'm gonna be probably moving here in the next month or two, and that I have kind of tried to avoid just uploading content for content's sake. I do upload a lot of, like, stuff for Patreon, but I haven't done it in probably the last 2 weeks, which I need to jump on. That's content for content's sake, but that's usually pretty easy. It's hard for me to, like, work up doing, like, stuff for Patreon when it's like I'm also just doing these live streams, which in the future, these live streams will go back to what I want them to be. But as you notice, like, I'm in my living room right now. Like, I can't actually get a lot done for a stream in my living room. When I have a 1,600 square foot studio that is wired to the best internet I've ever had, and better internet than practically anybody I know has, and I'm building a studio that's based around doing live stream and video content, that will change. There's a variety of things that are going on. That's something that will definitely change. You'll see a drastic change in how things are done in the next month or two. I want to be streaming almost every single day, and I want to be streaming various things. We're still doing the Saturday Night live stream on YouTube, but I'm going to be focusing more on Twitch. And that's not to say I'm going to focus on Twitch to do non-NERF stuff. I'm still going to be doing a lot of NERF stuff, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to do just NERF. I want to have a variety of content that's fun for the people who want to not have just NERF stuff. I know that most of you are subscribed for NERF, so I try not to do any non-NERF things on the channel. Like, I did the Lego thing, and that actually saw a dent in my channel. So I'm trying not to do non-NERF stuff on the channel. But at the same time, I want to do more than just that, because, like, I can't just build a blaster every day. I can't just sit here and talk about blasters every day. I would run out of stuff to do, so I'd like to have a variety of content. I've thought about doing, like, reactions to, like, other videos and stuff on the internet, but there's a lot of things that go into that I don't want to touch. Like, I don't want to offend somebody. I don't want somebody to copyright the stream and so forth. I don't want to have to worry about that, so I haven't been dealing with it. But I do have a solid plan, a business plan going forward, that basically everything right now, we're just in the lull. I'm waiting for the studio. Once we move to the studio, it should only take like a week or so to get that up and running. And once we have the studio up and running, content's gonna flow like water. And the best part about that is it won't be just me. It will be other content creators like Luchathor and Dr. Flux that will also be helping with that. And we plan on bringing more people in. And that's the way, like, I want to be able to do my 1 or 2 videos a week that I really want to do, while also having other content on here that you'd want to see. There are lots of successful channels that do multiple content creators on one platform, and I think with the way the algorithm is and the way everything's kind of going forward, we need to have that. A lot of us have been trying to make content by ourselves, and none of us have really been all that successful. Even like the super successful channels, like they've pretty much been around for, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I want to try to grow beyond even them to see if we can do that, and the way I think we're going to do that is by having people that I trust, people that I think are talented, give them a space where they can use the same equipment that I use for all of my videos to make their videos, and have all the content editing and everything on site, have everything done in a way that we can just produce content after content after content after content, and it's all going to be meaningful content. I'm not saying it has to be meaningful. I'm not saying that we can't do like a straight up review of the lightning bug. But I don't want to just sit here and like load a mag and shoot and be like, yep, it's a lightning bug, it's really cool, go buy it. If you want my honest opinion, lightning bug's definitely worth the money, especially if you already have lipos. If you already have lipos, the lightning bug is 100% worth it. It is a compact, inexpensive blaster that hits pretty decently hard. I like it a lot. It's ugly, but oh well. But I want to do something more. I have made plans. There actually is something that I could show off on stream. I would have to go get it, and it's practically impossible to fully demonstrate in here. But I bought a very expensive thing for my videos that I haven't quite shown off yet. That is hopefully, in my opinion, going to revolutionize the way I do videos. If you guys want to see that, I would be willing to go get it. But it's gonna take a little bit of time. And honestly, I don't even know at the moment if I can. I'd have to unplug something. This is true, Nightwing. That's definitely true. And again, it's not that I can't do it. If I had the space, like the thing you gotta understand is that like where I'm currently staying is like a hamster cage. Like it's not a very big area, and I've managed to make it work. But there's so many times I want to do something that I can't do because I don't have the setup. Like I want a green screen, but man, I don't have one. But when I get to the studio, I'm gonna have an entire wall that's a green screen. I'm literally talking like 10 feet of wall as a green screen. I may go get it. I may turn it on a Be Right Back, and I'll go out there and grab it. It's an interactive thing that I will be doing entire live streams around in the future, but right now it's a little difficult to do. Why are you focused on like the background and not me? It's been an ordeal. These last couple of months have been hard. And I think mostly I do think I have a seasonal depression issue. I'm actually starting to become really aware of that, because it's like every year it's harder for me to want to do content in December or in winter. And when it's like, I like working at night. That's kind of like, I feel way more energized at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning than I do at now. Like I've these last couple of days have been really bad on me because I felt like really, really sleepy and sickly. But this is an inhaler. I don't consume. I'm completely sober. It's an inhaler. I'm taking it because my health is low. But I think it's that coupled with I've been frustrated. Like we can go through a couple of things that I filmed that haven't hit the channel. I do try to cover this for like patrons and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that I film that never hits the channel. And then coupled with the fact that I know I'm going to move has made me go like, do I really want to do this now, or do I want to save it for when I have a better studio and I can do the video better? It's like tag back. Tag back's something that I want to keep doing. The only reason why I haven't done tag back is because I haven't been able to make tag back the way I want to make it. That's going to change. So I filmed a lot of stuff. Nice, Cherry Man. I filmed a lot of stuff this weekend at the new property. It's not set up for, like, us actually doing things, but what we're going to have, for those of you that don't know, is we're going to have 2.4 acres of property that is completely fenced off. There are neighbors, but they're not, like, the closest neighbor's right next to the studio, but the studio's on the corner of a property, so there's a big swath, you know, several acres of the property that is completely free roam. And so we went there to shoot stuff for the Milsig because we didn't want to be brandishing AR-15 looking things out in public like that. Even though we had orange tips for a little bit anyway, they broke, but that's why we're like, when we get the studio up and running, the from corner to corner on the studio feels like rival range. I don't know if it is. I mean, it's 1,600 square foot, but, like, I don't know. Mathematically, it's like, I think it's longer than it is shorter, so, like, corner to corner is actually a much longer sight line. And I could actually do, like, range testing indoors. But we're going to be setting up an actual, like, we're basically going to be setting up an arena outside. We're going to be bulldozing a lot of things and cleaning up the property and everything like that, but we want to get the studio up and running first and then focus on the outdoor stuff during the summer. And I plan on, when we move, to hopefully get, like, small games going on, even though it's big enough to have a bunch of cool people. I don't know how many people are going to be willing to drive up to the studio. It's not like in the middle of nowhere, but it is pretty up north. But hopefully we can have games of, you know, 10, 12 people, maybe. I don't even know if I have that many friends up here. But it's something to think about that we want to do. And that way we can have private games without having to worry about any BS. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the property is set up in a way that it can do it. Especially the house. The house that I'm moving into has a gigantic... It's a two bedroom, 2 bathroom, has a gigantic deck, and the living room is massive. It's actually so big that there's an artificial wall put up just to make it seem like less of a big empty space. And if you're talking about having, like, you know, 16 people, it's very easy for me to have more than enough space for 16 people to set up their gear, have a place to sit, have a place to eat, and so forth, and be happy, entertained, and comfortable, instead of sitting outside in the middle of a park, you know, wondering what people driving by are gonna possibly do to us. And so I want to try to get to this position, but at the same time, it's private property. I don't want to invite just anybody. I'm not building a studio that you watching this live stream will most likely ever be able to come to. It is a place of business. I am a registered business in the state of Washington. But it will be, you know, it's possible we will do tours. There's possible we might have other people. Like, I want to be able to have people I trust, other content creators. We're only, like, what, 45 minutes outside of Seattle? 20 minutes by ferry. It's an exciting location. We're pretty much near everything. We're near major cities, and yet we're also in a place where it's like we're far enough away from actual metropolis, but, like, at the same time, I still have good internet, and I will still have all this space and everything like that. I'm super excited. It's gonna be an ordeal, and I don't even know if we'll be able to get, like, what I want to get done before the end of summer, but at least the studio, that's one of my biggest goals, is just, like, have a place, my main option. I don't want this to be a place where I'm at. I want this to be a place where we're at. I want it to be a place where Dr. Flux can come over and shoot something if he wants to, although he still has, like, you saw it in the last video, Dr. Flux's studio is cool. I think the entire point, or, like, problem with Dr. Flux's, like, actual video quality, which isn't even bad, it's leagues better than some other people in this hobby, is that, like, he doesn't really use a good camera, a good mic setup, and that's all stuff that can change in the near future. But otherwise, like, his content, like, his studio is nice. He has a lot of room, and that's at his place, but it's like, when he does range testing, or whatever, it's like he doesn't really have room for that. He lives in a nice housing development, his backyard is secluded and cool, but super tiny. I think there's some stuff that could be done that he could come to this property for. Luchathor doesn't really have anything. Luchathor is one of the funniest people I know. That guy is hilarious. And I think if he had a space where he could be loud and obnoxious and had good equipment, he would produce amazing videos, which is why I'm working with him. There are other content creators that I do want to work with as well, but the idea of getting the studio set up is so we have 2 sets, we have a streaming setup, and we have a green screen, plus a workspace area, plus a storage area for my entire collection. That's the idea of the property. So there's a lot going on, and it's been kind of just like, we know we're going to move, we know we're going to do this, so we've been really just in growing pains. I think my next video will be pretty good, and I think the video after that I do on the Saber will be good. And my initial goal right now is to get my next video out, get the Saber video done, and then I might do the Phoenix or the Pharaoh mod video before I do the Milsig, but that should all be within the next 2 weeks. The Milsig is going to take a little bit more time, simply because when I shot the footage for it, we didn't have a good way to capture accuracy with it. I hope PA and NC members, yes and no. It will not be a blanket open invitation to all people here. However, there are people that I have interacted with, there are friends that I have made that will be open to coming, or if certain people vouch for other people to come up and so forth. Logistically, the reason for something like that is, like, we don't want to worry if, like, you'll basically sign a waiver, even though it's on my private property, that if something happens to you, if you fall and get a nail through the skull and die, it's not my fault. We will not... I would think that I would have to invite people that wouldn't ever think about doing that, but that's why it's not ever going to be an open invitation. Plus, it's my house. It's where I live. So, yeah. What is the most accurate Nerf gun? I don't think there is a most accurate. If I had to choose, the basic setup with the links is pretty far up there. Have you played Rainbow Six Siege? Don't, no. I don't like team-based games that much, and I don't like super high or super low time to kill. I don't like dying instantly. It's dumb. The closest thing I ever played that to Counter-Strike was Counter-Strike growing up, and I don't think I'll ever play it again. Do you play Roblox or any other games? I only play the Nerf Roblox. That's the only thing I played on the channel. I tried a couple other Roblox games, and they were all trash. So, what kind of camera does Dr. Flux use? For most of his content, as far as I know, he uses this thing, which I use for a lot of my content, and it's actually pretty good. The main issue with the Osmo that was actually fixed, there's a new version of the Osmo now that I do want to get at some point, but the main issue is that the sensor on it is very tiny, and that's why, like, for doing, like, live streams, for instance. So, like, I was just talking to Lucha about this because he was planning on getting a webcam, and it's like I was looking at webcams and kind of like they're all the same kind of super small. Like, they have autofocus, thank God, but they're all still like super small aperture, you know, sensors that are really grainy in the dark and stuff like that. And that's why it's like what I'm using right now is my DSLR. Like, the same camera that I use for all of my content is being used as my webcam right now. And I hope that things take off when we get to the studio, that I can just buy more, like another camera, and just keep one for live streaming and keep another for other stuff, or, you know, I have everything kind of set up in a modular right now. The stand my webcam or my DSLR is on, my chronograph and my tripod that I have out there are all on the same. I bought some really cool modular connectors, so they all use the same connectors. I could pop this off and move it to a tripod without unscrewing a thing. Like, you know, it was like $90 to get 3 of them, but it was so worth it because I was so tired of constantly having to unscrew pieces and take it off and grab the other one and screw it back on. So everything has the same connector now. I would love it if I could use, like, the Osmo Pocket for live streaming, but they don't do that, which is stupid. See, at Canon EOS, there's a difference for cameras that are meant for, like, video and cameras that are meant for photography and cameras that do both. The camera that I have right now is almost exclusively meant for video content creation. That's one of the reasons why I got it, is because I don't really need to worry about taking pictures. To be perfectly honest, an iPhone would do great for content creation as well. I'd argue that the cameras on my iPhone are almost as good as this one. Ben Lamb, I just got a DJI Osmo Action Cam. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I don't really like action cams all that much just because they, again, usually kind of small sensors. They're not bad. The thing I hate about like most GoPro stuff is that the GoPro has a tendency to fisheye everything, and you can remove it, but it never quite looks right, in my opinion. The Osmo one is really good because it's basically the same thing as this. There's a Sony action cam that is literally like the same sensor I have on this camera, but in a tiny GoPro style package, which is really cool. But it's like $700 and I don't need it. I want it, but I don't need it. There's a lot of, that's the problem with, like, I'm always seeing cameras and equipment and stuff that I want but don't need. That's a reoccurring issue. What camera do you recommend for YouTubers just getting started? Your phone. If you have a flagship phone made within the last 3-4 years, you're fine. iPhone 8 or whatever, you know, stuff like that will be perfectly fine for content creation. Audio is probably more important than video quality. Most video quality can be, I'm going to do a thing on this in the future because I want people to know. But, like, basically just a ring light and good audio. So you'd have to get a dedicated microphone, but you can get all that out of your phone. Like, you could plug an external mic and stuff into a phone and get good content, or record audio separately, which is kind of a pain, but not much of a pain. Otherwise, you know, an action cam isn't a bad idea, but then you're buying an action cam. And, like, it does works, but the cameras that I use to record footage, I'm trying to see if my Sony is around here. They're ones that generally have like pretty big sensors on them. The bigger the sensor, the more information that can get into them. So that's usually a pretty good idea to have, especially with low light. If you don't have like an actual studio, that's important. Yeah, exactly. Ben Lamb's got it down. I agree, Donovan. I did, my entire channel started on an iPhone 5, so the fact that you can do rudimentary editing on an iPhone using whatever you call it, iMovie is great. That's the most important thing, is you have to have decent video. You don't have to have great video. Audio is probably the most important thing. It's something that, like, so, for instance, for this live stream, I just bought a new microphone. The microphone that I use for my live stream, I'm going to touch it, that might make some noise, is the same microphone I use for video creation. And I plug it into my computer, and I use that. But I don't want to use this microphone anymore. It's not really meant for sitting at a desk and talking. So I just bought a new microphone that I'll be using for any voiceover work I do, and I do plan on doing way more voiceover work in the future. And I want my audio to feel less tinny. I want it to be a little bit nicer. But yeah, if I had to give you chances, like, audio is way more important than you think. What's a stupid fun blaster mechanism or gimmick that you think died off too soon? Ooh, oh god, that Buff Daddy with the real questions. Huh. There's a lot of... So, like, the Boomco Twisted Spinner, I really liked the idea of, like, when you prime it. I like things that are visually interesting when you prime them. That is, like, my most important thing. I love the rapid fire tech, the Buzzbee lever action. Not the Sentinel, the original. I love when you prime that thing and the bolt comes out the back, like on an actual, like a model 1887 shotgun, that kind of stuff. I like that bolt coming out the back look that makes it look really visually interesting. I like the Twisted Spinner because when you primed it, like, the barrel did that obnoxious spin, which was super fun. The Whip Blast, that's a good one too. Yeah, it's like I like things that are visually interesting and fun to use. That's why I generally like bolt action, and I really like lever action. Those are my two preferred, because bolt action is a thing, and lever action's also a thing. Pumping generally doesn't do it for me. It's pretty boring unless something else is happening when you pump it. I like crossbow blasters, specifically because I like the bow arms flinging out and stuff like that when you're priming it. That's the kind of stuff I like. And shell ejection's super fun because it's, again, visually interesting. Do you have any kind of amp or external thing for your audio devices? For the most part, I don't. I do have somewhere in my camera bag. I haven't used it as much as I need to, but I do have an external audio recorder. Again, I haven't used it as much as I probably should, specifically because it just adds more frustration to filming that I don't think is required. I did use this exact microphone when I was making the NERF haul video back in July. So you can get an idea of what that... I didn't really like it, so I haven't really used it since then. But if I need to be, 20 feet away from the camera or something like that and talking so you can hear me, that's when the external audio will come in. Basic stuff! I still see people, making videos and they're, downrange and talking and they're, yelling at the camera. It's like, dude, no, come on, use your phone as an external audio recorder or something. Come on, man. What are you 3D printing? Nothing right now. I do have plans, but I'm printing nothing at the moment. Basically took an Esper and hooked up to a real crossbow mech. Scary and cool. Ooh. That actually sounds straight up my alley. Do you have any suggestions for must-buy dart blasters for any arsenal? Yeah, Villainator. Buy a Villainator. It's one of the best blasters ever made. Aluminum or brass for Caliburn? I think most people like brass, actually. I think brass is just more refined for what we do. I haven't really seen much aluminum barrels that do better than brass. What is that giant dart cylinder behind you? That is a Villainator. Over there. There we go. That hand. I meant for PC, or the motherboard's one was... Oh, yeah, no, I don't think anybody has used external audio stuff for PC in a while. That kind of fell out of favor after, the early 2000s. No, I just use basic. I wanted to avoid using USB. I bought another USB mic, but this one gets pretty good reviews. But, I wanted to get an XLR interface. And I probably still will, but the microphone I'm buying right now is not going to be for that. It's just going to be a replacement for this hooked up to my computer. Yes, Ben Lamb, I've seen that. Which I don't know if I care that much, to be perfectly honest. Would you recommend the metal lever for the sling fire? Not really. If you want a good sling fire and you're waiting, I would just wait for the GDOP lever action. Yeah, I don't need that kind of power, Stanley. It's kind of pointless to me. I'm not really a power user. What's my biggest blaster? I mean, probably the Chimera Strike, fully loaded. I have a plan to revamp that thing, but it's definitely one of the biggest things. It's a big boy. Maybe looking to getting the Gecko stuff or something, TI, I don't know. I'm hoping that I can unplug I have to unplug the thing, my USB. You know what? Maybe I can unplug the Switch's power supply without touching that and get it to work. I guess I'll do a be right back for a little bit. I don't have a PSA set up right now, but I'll do a be right back and go grab the thing that I'm talking about and show that off, and we'll go for a little bit longer because I think the stream has gone on for a while without having anything happen. So I'm going to go grab that, and I'm going to show off what I'm talking about. I want to get your guys' opinion on it. It's a really cool, like, setup. So I wish I had somebody nearby that I could throw in here to talk to you guys, but yeah. So I'm going to put it on Be Right Back. I'm trying to think if I have anything I can put in there. Like, I have so many, like, unfinished videos. Do I have my memory card? Yeah, I know I took it out of the camera before I used the camera as a webcam. Yeah, a lot of footage, but none of it's I do. There's the clip of Lucha running through the. I need to put that up on Instagram. I know he put his up on Instagram, but yeah, no. There's videos in here that I have not even remotely done, and I don't know if they have any bad language in them because I have a mouth on me when I'm not conscious of it. All right, I'll just be. It's only going to be a couple of minutes, if that. So I will be right back. So sit tight. I'm going to turn up the music, and we'll be right back. Okay. I know that got creepy there for a second. Alright. So, I know we lost some people. Very, they're gonna kind of regret that, I think, because this is super cool. I do have to put focus on. There we go. This will be a little difficult, I feel. We'll try to get this. Alright. So... I think that setup is a little loose right there. Alright, so... this is a stream exclusive. I have not... I think I showed this off vaguely in a YouTube story and nobody could really tell what it was. This is something that I'm really excited about. I haven't done a whole lot with it yet, and I plan on doing a lot more with it, but you may be able to tell that it is not a normal piece of kit, that's for sure. It is... Oh, I'm sorry, that's going to be loud for a second, everyone. It is a massive thing. But here's where it gets a little cool. Anybody figured it out yet? It's a jolt. It's just a basic jolt. So, it's basically an arcade system that works with Nerf guns. I say Nerf guns, you know what I meant, but it is super freaking cool. It is one of the coolest things that I have ever bought. I just accidentally clicked on a thing. Aiming? Okay, well I guess we're going to demonstrate aiming. Which is a bit difficult to do when we have just a jolt, semi-auto. But, like, I'll shoot it at range so you can see it, which is... Well, I missed the button, so it doesn't even matter. I detest these headphones. I'm not going to give a whole lot of information out on it in this stream. I'm just going to show off a couple of things it can do. But it's a lot easier when you have an actual blaster. I don't even remember. Oh. Yeah, good luck with a jolt. And I'm already out of ammo here. I'm trying! Oh, that was a miss? I'm essentially cheating. I'm putting the zapper up to the screen because I hate that freaking dog. But, yeah. It gets better. There's quite a few games on this. It does have a control box that you can also use. It is really cool. I'm not quite sure what the limitations are quite yet. If I go, you actually do have to, like, shoot it. It doesn't respond to just a touch. Let's try that again. Come on. Awkward angle. There is, like, shot point size that you can see here. So you can actually make the actual bullet marking, like the hit marker, bigger than, or smaller. It will kind of go up to, I guess, rival size. It goes down really, really freaking, like, pixel perfect. Really awesome. Like, this is one of the coolest things I have ever played with, and I've barely been able to really show off what it can do. That's really loud and obnoxious, I'm sorry about that. It has a whole bunch of mini-games, including 2-player ones. It also has zeroing for scopes and whatnot, and the best parts are the trainings, because those actually function like an arcade game. They actually let you put in a name, and they allow you to save high scores. Even when it's turned off and stuff like that. I will say this thing's expensive, very expensive, so if you're planning on getting one, and again, I'm not going to reveal too much in this video, it is very, very expensive. Just keep that in mind. It is not something that most of you will just spring for, and this is the small one. There are bigger versions. This is 24 inches, I believe, which is big enough for the most part. Keep hitting buttons. But yeah, it's sensitive enough to work with a jolt, and yet I think I can shoot this with like the milsig and it wouldn't break. It's cool. It's really cool. This is just a normal product. I just don't want to reveal. I want to give you guys a reason to watch the actual video on it. Maybe I'll put up a video for patrons and stuff to kind of explain it. But it is so cool. I'm not really showing off a lot, but it's got, like, I think just the normal targets are... I've had it for, I think, about 2-3 weeks now. I just lost my only dart. This is, like, gives you a total points within, with 10 shots. Oh, hey, I had a jolt sitting here. My cat is like, what are you doing, bro? So... Why does that one go in farther? Oh, because this has a little cap on the end of it, so it's like... Yeah, I missed. That was a 9. And you could just go through this over and over, but it will give you a score. And you can see how that would be useful. Aha! Yeah! Super cool, visually interesting thing. And it does have, like, target modes where you actually, like, shoot and things actually change and stuff like that. It has games on it, too. I have entire content things to do with this, so it's gonna be really interesting. I am super excited to show off more about it, and I tell you one thing, I think we're gonna have the coolest booth at, like, End War or something like that for sure. It's pretty awesome. Dizzy, I think I've mentioned it, but I don't think I've actually shown it off. Again, you're supposed to be like 6 feet away, and with like most Nerf blasters, it's nearly impossible to hit the darn thing accurately beyond like doing a normal target. But how would that stand against a Caliburn? It'll be fine. It's super durable. Power level, I don't know, but I'm also under the impression that there probably won't be. mag-fed blowgun using a Recon Mark II's base. Nathan, that is old school as heck. Have a good night, Cherry Man. So, this allows me to objectively measure the effectiveness of basically every Nerf blaster, which is super interesting to me. Ugh. So if I wanted to measure the effectiveness of like this, well, it'd probably be OP as frig, but yeah. More than any blaster you've ever purchased ever, Andrew. Way more. Yeah. So, I have a lot of plans for something like this. I don't know when those plans will come to fruition, but very, very cool piece of tech that I plan on doing a lot with in the future. So you will be seeing this make a regular appearance in my videos, and that was the reason why I could rationalize paying for it, because it's expensive. And if I'm saying that it's expensive, you know it's expensive. But for what it does, it's kind of hard not to love it, you know? With stuff in my professional life being rescheduled, I won't be able to make it to End War if they have it at the normal time. I don't think they'll have it at the normal time, Homely, specifically because now Jared's Epic Nerf Battle is in the same time frame. So, it hasn't been said yet, but I don't think End War is going to happen. Atomic, I don't know why it didn't show up. Hey WALCOM, I've been thinking of making an attachment for a Strife side rail that uses a Raspberry Pi and a touch screen to regulate a select fire kit and other stuff. I also want this to end up looking like the heartbeat attachment from Modern Warfare 2. Thoughts? That could be really cool. Will it be all that practical in comparison to a normal select fire kit? Maybe not, but I definitely think there's room for something like that. I have to see what's going on with the donations on Streamlabs. Something definitely seems broken. I'm sorry about that. I've tried to replay them and they just don't seem to be working. Yeah, I'm not quite certain. But thank you, Atomic Gaming. So we can go... Only I had more darts here. Okay, where did I put the controller? Put on the front foot. Okay, how we do it? Point blank. Left-handed at an awkward angle. 1 whole point. And a miss. Got our dart back. 6 whole points. This would be a lot more fun if I actually had a magazine full of darts. Ooh. Ooh, did I jam up the dirt? Maybe. Huh, I think I hit it right here and it tried to count it up there. That is not even remotely close to where it was. Accuracy with this thing has actually been really good. I'm wondering why it's messed up now. Having some weird issues. Well, that one definitely missed. There we go. We win. Is the caliber easy to put together for a beginner? Elijah, I'd say it's not that bad. It's basically like IKEA. Yeah, this one's not gonna break. At least it shouldn't. Plus, you can, like, input high scores with it, which I think is incredibly amazing. It's like, in one of the things, we can add this. So on these ones, you can have multiple targets hooked together. But the best part is the fact that you can put in a name, and you can plug in a wireless keyboard and stuff into this. So, very, very cool. But I think I'm done showing it off for right now, although I do kind of want to have it on the default thing. I actually can't connect it to the internet too. I kind of want to do that to see if there's an update for it. What is the best blaster in the $100 budget category you should get? You could get an Nexus Pro and buy an upgrade kit for it. That'd probably be your best bet. Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in that $100 category that stands out to me. Alrighty. Basically, that's it for the stream. That's like base. I wasn't even gonna stream today, to be perfectly honest, but I figured you guys would like that. It's been pretty quiet here this last week, so. Picked apart a knockout, put it back together, left with 3 pieces. Knockout still works flawlessly. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot more to say. It looks like the chat has died down and everything pretty good, so. Do have videos in the pipeline, stuff I want to work with. It'll be a little bit longer, but I don't really have a whole lot. Like I said, I wasn't really in the mind frame to stream today anyway. It just kind of happened. There are more mods for the Adventure Force V-Twin. The fact that it uses other chains, Atomic, has kind of turned me off because I have a lot of the normal Adventure Force chains. Like, I know those chains are better, but yeah, I don't want to invest in a whole new chain ecosystem for one blaster. Like I said, if you're wanting more interesting streams, you're gonna have to just wait a little bit longer. I'll be making an announcement video, I assume, soon when things are officially announced, but we're moving closer to it. Make sure you put the rubber pad back in the knockout if you didn't. Anyway, yeah, I think we're just gonna call it a day. Say bye to everybody in the chat, though. Thank you very much. I know this wasn't the most exciting stream, but I appreciate you all. Aries Sigler, Atomic Gaming, Bishop Gantry, Kanan Barrios, Dr. Jex, Elijah Burley, Eric Vander Avond, Jason Santiago, Mobile COD Zombies Guy, NorCal Nerf Club, Power Level High, REFan 2002, and TI. Thank you very much, everybody. We do these live streams every Saturday night. I will hopefully have a more exciting live stream. Maybe I can convince, like, Dr. Flux or something to come over next weekend. I'm not sure. Set something up. It's supposed to be getting warmer. I'm actually curious what we're at right now. It's only 46 degrees right now, but it's supposed to be heating up. Next weekend, it's supposed to be in the 70s. So I think next weekend we could probably move stuff out into the garage and have some fun. That has all sorts of logistical issues, but we can figure it out. So there will be videos. I plan on trying to have one up Monday. We'll see how that goes. By next stream, we'll have a different microphone as well, so that'll be interesting. Should be fun. And I'm not very good at any of these things, but thank you very much. I'm going to cut it back to music, and I will see you all later. If you guys are interested in, in interacting with me and the community even more, the Discord is on the screen. I'm active in Discord every single day. You might not see me, but I'm there, lurking in the shadows, ready to ban you. Lots of fun stuff. So, have a good night, everyone. We'll leave you with the song and we'll shut down the stream. Take care.